What makes a SpongeBob episode bad? SpongeBob went from being one of the greatest cartoons of all time that would come out with hit after hit, to now still being one of the greatest cartoons of all time without a good episode in the last decade to show for it. Through things like poor plot generation and extreme flanderization, it seems the only way to save the show now is its inevitable discontinuation. Point is, SpongeBob isn't what it used to be. I'm pointing this out to convey SpongeBob's overall decline as a show won't actually be that important for the sake of what I'm going to talk about. It's a commonly well-known subject, but I'll give examples of how bad SpongeBob episodes exist even in the golden era of seasons 1 through 4. I'm also choosing to bypass the obvious when I talk about what makes an episode actually bad. Things like boring plot, forgettable short-lived characters, and people acting out of character is a pattern that many other cartoons have seen throughout their lifetimes, and really characterizes a bad episode of any show. Everyone also always blames the networks, and they should, they ruin everything eventually. But this is more about what specifically makes a bad SpongeBob episode. A couple quick notes. These things can all occur on their own or in any combination and still make a bad episode. Also, I will only be referring to seasons 1 through 7 because it's honestly unbearable to watch after that. Okay, reason number 1. Probably the most obvious one. I mean, one of the most hated episodes in the show's history is the Splinter. It's not that an episode can't be gross, but there is a line. The line is less of a solid line of things you can't do, and more of a, if we start having scenes where that absurd scream from the show Flapjack could fit perfectly, maybe it's time to tone it down a little. As the seasons became newer, the animation styles became a lot more detailed and overboard. It got to the point where some moments make you question what the network's agenda is, because there's no way they would air this thinking kids would actually think it's funny or enjoyable. I mean, seriously, what are we doing here?
You're a beautiful flower. You don't need to change it.
Next. Reason number 2. People unapologetically acting like jerks. So this one is a little less commonly disliked because it can usually be amended or because it somewhat represents one category of an overall problem that a lot of people see in the show. That problem is characters acting out of character. But honestly, I don't think this automatically makes an episode bad because we've had some great moments with our friends acting out of character. Like the scene in As Seen on TV where SpongeBob thinks he's a movie star and quits his job. Go back and watch that scene and just look at Mr. Krabs' facial expressions the whole time. Furthermore, people acting like jerks can commonly be amended and have a lighthearted ending when whoever it is learns their lesson or when the person being a jerk apologizes. But we have to remember that I said unapologetically. I'm sure you all know the episode I'm thinking of with this point, but this has happened multiple times in the golden age of SpongeBob as well. Yeah, let's just shit on our friends for no reason because I'm stupid, or let's force my former best friend to commit self-die and learn nothing from it or not feel bad after. I actually don't know why the writers would think people want our beloved characters not to be redeemed at the end and instead instill a sour taste in our mouths, but whatever, moving on. Reason number 3. Personally, my least favorite thing on this list. Spongebob crying. He does it non-stop in the episodes starting from season 4 and on. I watched All That Glitters, the one where he breaks his spatula and gets the French one that won't cook, and he cried for over 2.5 minutes. In 11 minutes. Imagine going to see a 2-hour movie and the main character is just doing nothing but physically crying for 27 minutes. The network must have really forced their agenda on the writers to program growing kids into whiny soy boys, or, something like that. Point is, crying SpongeBob ruins his reputation as a curious, whimsical, adventurous, carefree guy that loves what he does and can always find the positive. Don't be like this guy, be like this guy. Reason number 4. Copying the same episodes. Okay, so I lied a little bit. While I did say I'm not going to talk about the obvious things that make any episode of any show bad, I will be pointing out a few things that really only the most popular and longest running cartoons have experienced as well. Think Simpsons, Family Guy, etc. The first point is, whether it stems from the plot of a good episode or the character traits of a bad episode, every time an episode is copied, the copy is worse. Every time. How many times are we going to see a rendition of Imitation Crabs? And can't we just get past this running theme of SpongeBob ruining Squidward's day to the point where he's driven to depression and Patrick just being there for no reason to egg it along? This leads me to my final point. Reason number 5, the setting. Any wildly successful animated show is at risk of running dry on ideas when the setting looks the same on episode 1 as it does on episode 201. We've seen shows like Adventure Time and Regular Show that have had a huge amount of episodes, but have never seemed to run dry because the setting and character development is so drastically different at the end than it was at the beginning. It always makes me wonder why shows like SpongeBob never had any legitimate character or setting development. If the writers were willing to let the characters devolve so far from their redeeming qualities that make us love them, surely they'd be okay with going the other way and experimenting with things that actually make the show better, right? When a show is as successful as SpongeBob is, you have to expect to get a huge number of ordered episodes, and you can't not expect to run out of ideas. This combination of certain themes like Spongebob crying, mean characters, and obscene gross-outs that taint individual episodes combined with the overall running mindset of stagnant writing and development is the losing pattern for what was bound to eventually happen. To end it off, I'm going to list what I think are the worst 3 episodes of each of the first 7 seasons so you can see what I'm referring to. Thanks for watching.